Since the library has been renovated, what we've heard from the teachers, the librarians, is that the library is much more well utilized right now. My name is Desiree. I'm a designer and a design researcher here at Stark Design. The students actually come in during their break or recess to, sometimes they just chill, they read new books, they have consultations with their teachers. So there's quite a lot of variety of different activities that are happening in the library now, in the same space at the same time.
My name is Caitlin and I currently work at Stark Design as an experienced designer and a researcher. The main assumption that we challenge through this library redesign is that a library must be a quiet space. We ask the question, is it possible for a library to concurrently serve as both a collaborative space as well as a space for more introspection or quiet browsing?
As part of a Learning by Design grant, Stark worked with a local secondary school to redesign their library. They had recently torn down the older partitions and things they had in the library. Because it was so open and spacious, they had difficulties trying to have concurrent activities within the same space.
There would be classes next door and you could actually hear what's going on in the next class. So it wasn't a very conducive environment to linger here.
Through a series of design thinking workshops across a span of 2 weeks, students came together with the teachers to have dialogue, conversations, empathize with one another, and they even built scale prototypes of their ideal version of the library. We had almost 50 different prototypes. So as designers, we had to figure out what to prioritize so that it is conducive environment for the different types of users within the same library.
Before the renovation, this was actually quite an open space. We approached that through zoning the library and introducing partitions. It served as a way to enable different types of activities to take place in the library without disturbing other users. What this does is that it allocates enough space for collaboration. So from 9 to 90 people, there were various styles of activities that could take place, for example, a seminar or a lecture. But at the same time, because it's partitioned, this closes off and seals off the noise such that in a separate book browsing area, the students of these spaces are not too disturbed and they don't have to vacate the space.
Previously, the school books were kind of all tucked away in one corner, in quite a dark corner with very high bookshelves, and that made it a bit uninviting. What we did in the new space is that the bookshelves are kind of scattered around the space and interspersed with different types of seating. So naturally, as students come in to relax or have a discussion with a teacher, they will kind of always have a book within reach. So it makes it a lot easier for them to discover new books.
This amphitheatre is actually meant to be a space for flexible use. So in the design thinking and co-creation workshops, students actually brought up the fact that some CCAs, for example, drama or their communications and broadcasting CCAs don't have a space to record or rehearse or set up their props. So what we proposed was to actually create storage spaces that also served as partitions. The teachers also simultaneously realized that this is an ideal location to host circle time because of the open space, and there's lightweight furniture that can be easily moved around, so moving furniture that no longer takes up majority of their precious contact time. Previously, teachers and students both shared that it was difficult to find a suitable space in school where the students felt psychologically safe to have a one-on-one conversation with their teachers. Most of the spaces around the school were quite open, so students became pretty self-conscious when they're having a private conversation with their teachers. We actually dedicated a special section of the library near the entrance, and there's a beautiful corner where it's a big window, and so students and teachers can actually look out the window without having to look directly at one another. We also introduced half-height blinds that add some additional privacy, but it doesn't make the students and teachers feel claustrophobic and completely closed off. Yet it's private enough that other users of the library won't be able to interrupt the conversations when they are taking place.
When it comes to relooking educational spaces, It may not always be as straightforward as a simple redecoration of the space. At start, we had to actively consider the educational outcomes that the teachers or the principals are looking at, and at the same time also balancing that with what the actual users of the space do in the space. And I guess it's having that a lot more user and human-centric lens to really figure out the best way for the space to be designed and allocated.